Valencia is more than just a variety of orange. It's a beautiful Spanish city with a variety of sports venues, some of which are orange. So here are the stadiums and arenas of Valencia, Spain. Where better to start than at Estadio Ciutat de Valencia, or the City of Valencia Stadium, which is fresh off a renovation that was carried out in 2020, that transformed the venue immensely. It went from being a mostly uncovered stadium to a stadium where every seat in the house is sheltered. Speaking of the seats, they were replaced as well. The new roof also allowed for some big video boards and floodlights to be installed. So they went from having one of the least impressive stadiums in the first division a few years ago to having one of the most impressive stadiums in the second division now. Although I guess you'd rather have the worst house in a good neighborhood than the best house in a bad neighborhood. La Gora. La Gora has got to be one of the most distinctive buildings that's ever been featured on the channel. Firstly, it's an arena that is 70 meters tall. It's like a giant purple and teal clamshell. Needless to say, it's one of a kind. In fact, it's such a strange looking building that some people have developed an irrational fear of it. They call it Lagoraphobia. I seem to share the same sense of humour as crickets. They're loving it. Anyway, in terms of sport, the only significant tenant that this place has had was the Valencia Open tennis event that it hosted from opening until 2015. The Valencia Open no longer exists. The last 3 finals of the men's singles were lost by a Spanish player, so maybe they just had enough of the heartache. Plaza de Toros de Valencia. It wouldn't be a Spanish city if they didn't have a bull ring of some sort. The sport itself might be brutal, but the venues that it takes place in are almost always beautiful, as is the case here. The 48-sided exterior consists of plenty of brick and many arches. It was built way back in the 1850s, and there have only been minor changes made since then, mostly during a renovation in the 1960s. Speaking of the sport's brutality, it's not a one-sided affair. This place features a statue of Manolo Montoliu, a local bullfighter that was gored to death. Not here, but at a bull ring in Seville. That was in 1992. Ironically, or perhaps fittingly, the building is owned by a hospital. Estadio de Mestalla. A lot of stadiums are named after a nearby body of water. This has got to be the only one I can think of that's named after an irrigation canal. Back in the early days, spectators arriving at the ground from the south would have to jump over the canal to get to the stadium. But this was 100 years ago, you see, long before bridges were invented. Much like a lot of old stadiums that started out small and grew as the club did, this has an unconventional design. It's made even more eye-catching by the giant bat there on the steep seating of the eastern stand. I say it's eye-catching, but actually it'd be somewhat difficult to spot this stadium if you were flying in a plane above the city. It somehow kind of blends into the surrounding buildings. Uh-oh. The ground does have some shortcomings though, and the club have for a long time wanted to build a modern world-class stadium. In fact, Valencia started building Nou Mestalla in 2007, with the goal of having it finished by 2009. But due to financial issues, this has not eventuated, as you can see. Also, 4 construction workers lost their lives in 2008 after scaffolding collapsed, so it has been a disaster of a project. The neighbourhood has been left with a big concrete shell of a stadium, but the club still haven't given up on it entirely. Palau Velodrome Luis Puig. As you may have gathered from the name, this building includes a velodrome. The first event that it hosted was the 1992 World Track Cycling Championships. However, it's also an indoor athletics venue. It includes a 200-meter running track. You don't really see too many buildings with more than one track within them. Other than a record store, I suppose. Design-wise, I appreciate that there's plenty of glass used throughout the venue, including a big skylight up top, which is where skylights tend to be. I guess it could host basketball, but there's no need for it as there are purpose-built basketball arenas in this city, such as Paveo Municipal Fonteta de Sant Luis. It gets its name from a nearby street, but is also known as La Fonteta after the neighborhood in which it's located. It's also almost as orange as a Valencia orange. So if you have trouble locating this place, that's entirely on you. Valencia Basket moved in a few years after this place opened, and have been playing here ever since. But despite the fact that it was renovated in 2016, where it gained this center-hung video board amongst other things, they'll soon be moving to a new venue that is currently being built, just an orange's throw away. An orange throw, by the way, is an old Spanish unit of measurement. It's roughly equivalent to 228 meters. They really knew how to throw an orange back then. Their to-be home is called Roig Arena, which was set to open last year, but the deadline has been delayed until the end of 2024. It's a €220 million project that is being funded by a billionaire called Juan Roig, hence the name. The basketball capacity will be 15,600, a significant increase over La Fonteta. It could have been even more if they didn't leave this corner empty. Very strange design that. Let's hope it doesn't go the same way as Norma Staya. Now, the capacity cutoffs can be a little arbitrary on these videos, so I think I should start doing honourable mentions. Grounds that didn't quite make the cut but are still notable in some way. I won't talk about them, just show them. Estadio Gerardo Salvador. Estadio Municipal Fornas. Oh, that's a real life cricket. Can you hear that? Did you hear that? It was a real life cricket. Ba ba da ba ba ba. Ba ba dee boo ba. Ba 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 da ba dee boo ba ba. Ba 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 dee boo ba ba. Ba 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 dee boo ba ba. Ba 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 dee boo ba ba. Yeah. Ba 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 dee boo ba ba. Ba ba dee boo ba ba. Oh, and those were the Stadiums of Valencia. Orange, you glad I didn't do Bilbao or something? Oh, Bilbao, could I do Bilbao? They got that one nice stadium, but I can't think of what else they would have. Don't think so. Sorry, Bilbao. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.